Okay, now we've got our legs. As you can see, these legs are to the front of here. These legs are to the back. You understand that? You see how I did that? I removed this portion for the first out of the pattern. I removed these two legs to the front. In other words, by cutting off half of this portion, and the same thing on these two legs in the front. This one here and the leg in the back. So after we've got that, and you can see how we've done that right there. Now I'm not gonna carve on these legs anymore yet until I get the body down some. And the way I'm going to do that is what I'll take. This is a 2-inch piece of wood, and I'm just going to sort of estimate it. But I'm going to come down the middle of the back of the tail, which is somewhere around in here. There we go. And somewhere, in other words, and I'm going to start bringing down that tail, in other words. I'm going to gradually bring the body down as it goes along. And I'm going to use that line to give me an indication of where halfway is and how much to bring down on each side. So we're going to start bringing down the tail now. And what I like to do, I'm going to kind of bring it more to a point in here. We got to thin that up, of course. And on that tail, of course, when you get down to a certain point, you want to be kind of careful. You don't want to, it's going to be thinner. It's going to get thinned out, so you want to be careful when you get around it and everything like that. Let me get this. Go. So we're going to kind of use that tail as sort of a midway point for the body and elsewhere. In other words, because what you want to do is you want to go. Use that midway point. I can kind of use my push cut in here. I kind of put it up against my so sort of start taking wood off from both sides of the tail like this, in other words. Go. Plus, it gives us an idea, as we take the tail off, it gives us an idea of where our legs, how thin our legs can be and all that stuff. So you sort of work from each side of that tail. That's what you do. To give it the look that you need. See how that tail's coming down like that? See that? See? Now we're not going to get it too thin in that way. Okay. Now, by bringing that tail down like that, then we can kind of start working on our back legs a little bit. Kind of get them down and get this portion of the behind of the dog. You kind of come up to right back in here and you start thinning it out is what you do. You start evening it up. So you just sort of like that, in other words. Now, of course, these back legs are going to have to be thinner, of course. We all understand that. And then you can kind of get a general idea of how to start thinning up some the back of the dog like this. In other words, as you work around, see as you look at your tail here, of course it's going to be thinner than that, but you begin to work the dog itself. In other words, just like this in here, start taking a little bit of this off in here. In other words, and that's why you don't want to take too much off, because you may have to take some off here, and if you took too much off here, then it would look unusual. So you sort of work from that vantage point there. See, and you just slowly begin to get this dog where he looks like something. A little bit off in here. You sort of work around him, see? Just sort of work around him as you go. Take something off here, take something off there. In other words, because that helps me so much when I'm carving anything. Now I'm going to take a pencil, and this front leg is going to come like this, back like this, and this one is going to come up like this, see? Alright, and here, of course, this one comes up, and this one comes up in here. Okay. So, kind of start taking a little bit off the body. Start taking a little bit off this side right here. Just, you know, it's kind of